Hello, everybody. Welcome back to horse racing today. Yesterday, Thomas and I closed down Kentucky Downs. So today, Charles and I are going to open up Churchill Downs, right?
That's right. That's what's
T-
happening in Kentucky.
Opening night, we're opening afternoon, maybe at Churchill Downs. Do you think that opening day at horse racing has the same sort of like opening day feel of NFL season or baseball or anything else, or because the tracks kind of run over and over and over again, it doesn't get that same sort of sensation?
I don't think it quite does, except for certain races. And I think the top one is the Derby Day, of course.
Hmm.
And then, of course, even Breeders' Cup weekend, that has a big fanfare.
Yes, indeed. I think a couple of tracks get a little bit of like opening day kind of more buzz than others. Saratoga being one. I think Kentucky Downs because of the as Sean says, the casino feel. If you get some big tickets there, so everybody's hopeful that they'll be on the cashing end of one of those giant tickets. Today, obviously, we had a choice today between the Belmont at the Big A, which completely screwed up all the data files. Thank you for that, Naira. Just call it Aqueduct because that's where they're running. And then or Churchill. And it just looked to me like the Churchill card was a little bit better than the card at Belmont at the Big A today because a lot of maiden races over there. You also have some long jumper races. So we just went ahead and went with Churchill today. 8 races on the card. The weather there tonight is supposed to be pretty nice. If you look at the weather forecast for Churchill Downs, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I have it. You see here that they're looking for sunshine on all day on this payday for some. So it should be a nice weekend too, all the way through Monday before you start to see any rain in the Louisville area. So horse racing should be fast and firm tonight, Charles. Didn't see any races on the grass, right? They're all on
There
the
is no
dirt.
grass. They're working on that turf course. They kind of screwed it up originally, so
Yes, I thought they opened it up in the spring, and they screwed it up in the spring, and they have to redo it.
yeah, exactly.
I should keep
So no turf racing until basically I think it's their spring racing again.
to May, to the Kentucky Derby
Yep,
circuit starts.
exactly.
This weekend, for those of you who like to follow along with the Kentucky Derby, the Iroquois race is at Churchill Downs, which is the first qualifier for next year's Kentucky Derby. So keep an eye on that. That'll be on Saturday. But tonight, we're going to be working on tonight's card at Churchill Downs. First race. Well, before we get to that, one last final thing. Jamie and Sean had on George Allen again last night. So another entertaining conversation with George Allen Bryant. So make sure you go and check that out while you're here at Horse Racing Radar TV. We're only a few people away from 2,000 subscribers. So kindly, if you're here and you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We appreciate all of the support. If you like what you see, many people did yesterday. We have a really strong like to dislike ratio. And for that, we thank you. We appreciate it. So if you haven't checked out George Bryant or any of this week's or any past week's Horse Center shows with tremendous guests, make sure you do that. Okay. And we had a little bit more time because there's no racing until 5:00. But today at Churchill Downs, race number 1 is 1 mile and a 16th. It's a maiden claiming $10,000 race. So far, well, at least not so far, but last year they ran 67 of them. 44 of those mile and a 16th races were won by horses that were in the first 3 at the first call, 16 of which went wire to wire. There is a strong rail bias. 2 through 7 play fair. 8 and out, you do score a major penalty. And if we go ahead and check out the pace worksheet for race number 1, you'll see, well, there are no scratches, so we can't scratch anybody out on here. But a couple of interesting things of note, the 5 horse being one that is a left arrow horse, meaning it's going to catch a little bit better pace than perhaps it might show. There's really not a true front runner in this group. I know they're maiden claimings, but none of them have really shown an inclination to get to the front. The entire pack wants to be either a pressure horse or a closer horse. Another one, the 5 horse, 4 horse, a couple of others that might move a little bit more forward than usual. A couple of class droppers in here, like to see that as well. But we see with the 2 horse over here, it has a lot of an advantage at the end. So a lot of advantages in this race, Charles. You go ahead and tell us about your picks for race number one.
Well, my number one pick is the number three horse, and in this race, if you look at, it's kind of hard, but sometimes people skip who's the owner of the horse. And the owner of this horse, she teams up very well with the trainer. They go out and claim horses, and they do very well together. This horse is dropping in class, blinkers off, you know. So I see that one moving up very, very good. My second pick is the nine. Didn't like the turf last time out, I don't believe. Huge class drop. The trainer gets 24%.
Don't you think
With
that class dropped from like 150 maiden down to a special weight down to the 10,000? It's just a little bit suspicious.
very suspicious.
Mhm.
But they might have went and tried to take their shot on turf at Kentucky Downs there. Uh, the trainer does get 24% from a maiden, straight maiden to a maiden claimer, but like you said, this is more than just going to a maiden
Yeah,
claimer.
because a
It's
lot
going
of
to the
times
bottom.
they'll start to drop a little by a little. I mean, you got to put him in there. I think they just want to sell the horse and gets a check along the way. Is my feeling is what the plan is on that one, but we'll see.
Right. They're trying to cash both, trying to get two checks on the same time. I think
Mhm.
so. The 10 horse is my third pick. He's a class dropper. You got Pletcher and Tyler team up there. That's a good combo if you ask me. And I know Todd will have this horse ready to roll on this one. And then the four horse is my final pick of the race. We got tired last time out. Class drop again. Trainer is 33% on a double class drop.
Hmm.
So another one trying to do the same thing as the nine horse.
So for me, I'm going to start off with my long shot right out of the gate here at Churchill Downs with number 2, Star Entertainer. So I always tell Terry, you got to pick horses that have your name in them, and Star Entertainer. I mean, what else?
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Anyway, this one does have a triple plus late pace edge, meaning if it's anywhere near the front runners when they come out of that turn to come for home, it's going to run right by all of them, race to the finish line. Our friend, it also has a triple plus early pace and late pace advantage. I mean, this horse has a lot of race internals that point to it as a contender here. Did run the top last race, speed figure, and a good friend of the show, John Ortiz, is dropping this one. Trainer John Ortiz, he's dropping this one multiple classes, which is a 35% winner for him. Number 3, Blunder, your first choice, my second choice. Much better late in its first effort for trainer Thomas Amos, who's a great trainer, just won a milestone race. Congratulations. I think he's going to be on Horse Center before too long. Mr. Amos wins second after Acclaim at a whopping 29%. So that's a good number there for Mr. Amos. Number 9, Predominant, does drop from that $150,000 maiden special weight. I think that's just too big, too suspicious. The horse probably should be the first pick based upon that. But as you mentioned, trainer Wayne Catalano, who we had on the show, does win at 24% and that maiden special weight to maiden claim drop. And the horse actually did have a nice Z pattern. But as we talked, I think this one is just trying to get him out of the barn. I think there'll probably be multiple claims on this horse. Either that or everybody's going to be like, why such the big drop and afraid to take action? Number 10, Atomic Tome, left arrow horse, as you saw in the pace worksheet. Doesn't look like it on paper, but I think this one could be the pace setter. Looking at that August 26th workout as an indication of what he might be capable of doing. This race is the first one here at Churchill Downs. I feel like has a little bit of openness to it.
Oh, definitely.
Race number 2, Charles, is 1 mile. It's optional claiming for $80,000. So a pretty good race there so far at 1 mile, or at least last year. I don't know so far. Just have it. 52 races in the last meet at Churchill Downs at 1 mile, 39 of which were won by speed. A dozen took them from gate to wire. There is an inside 3 bias. 4 through 7 play slightly below par. An 8 and out, catch a penalty. So far, it looks like on these routes, inside is good, outside is bad. Our pace worksheet for race number 2 sets up like this. The 2-horse, not a whole lot of crazy action in here. You see the 2-horse does probably have the most early pace, likely to be your pace setter. 6-horse should get a pace that it's comfortable with. The 4-horse does have a late place plus advantage, meaning, again, if the horse is in contention coming down the stretch, might have the most octane when it counts. Also has the best early pace, late pace combination, followed by the 6 and then the 2. And then the 5 looks to me like it is a first-time starter in here. So, yeah, I don't know what you're going to get out of that. It can't be a first-time starter, can it? International horse.
No,
I'm sorry. Yes, it's coming in. I can't even read my own handwriting. How horrible is that? All right. So anyway, you have that international horse in your picks. I don't. But you do like the 1-horse, the real horse, Guanaque. Tell us why.
Well, the number one thing is looking for the hat trick, going for the third win in a row. Solid works, fits well with these horses by time wise and everything. Looks like he could close. He could probably sit close enough to the pace to do some damage. So that's why I'm choosing him all overall number one.
Number one for
the
number
number four
one.
is
And
my
that's what
second
I got
pick.
cooking today. Number one. So if you like horse
Number
racing
one.
today gear, you want to support the show, go over to horseracingtoday.net. In the menu, you'll see HRT gear. Click on that. Pick yourself up a nice HRT shirt with the numbers on the back. It's a red number one, just like the apron. So when you're at the track, there'll be no doubt that you're a horse racing fan. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Charles. But
And number
just
one
a shameless plug, and I don't do it that often. I probably should do it more.
Well, you probably have the number one is in your closet. That's it, huh? Because you are number one.
I am number one, baby.
Yeah, you are. There
can only be.
That's right. Okay, the second pick is the 4-horse. Another one that has very solid workout tab during his layoff. 8 times in the money out of 9 races. So that tells me a lot about this horse. The horse tries. He doesn't want to give up no matter what happens. So I see him putting another, solid effort in today. The 5-horse, the international horse, like we just finished talking about. That's my third pick. First time's Lasix. This trainer usually gets horses from Chile and does very well. And I think he's a great trainer overall. So he fits well with these horses. So if he normally has them ready, so I expect that one to get a piece of the pie here. And then my final pick, the 6. Norton Casey is an excellent young trainer that's coming up. I think he definitely learned a lot from Dad. So he has tactical speed, solid works in return. So another one that could pick up some pieces.
Race number 2, I'm going to start with Smarmy. As I mentioned, does have the top early pace numbers in the field, does have some really nice workouts since that last race on July the 2nd. And at Churchill Downs has fared pretty well. 3 races, 2 wins, a second and a third. And I recall when we had Mike Smith on the show talking about the Kentucky Derby a couple of years ago. And man, I can't believe we've been doing this for that long. He had said that Churchill is a kind of a peculiar surface for the dirt track, sort of peanut buttery. So horses that tend to do well there, you want to focus on those horses because of the quirkiness of the surface. Number 1, Guanaque, your top choice, my shirt, was a lot better in the first half mile last out. Did run the top last race speed figure. Trainer Cipriano Contreras is a 23% winner when his horse is making the third start off the break. And with jockey Francisco Arrieta, the duo's in the money 7 out of 8 times together. But we mentioned in that first horse there, ran at Churchill Downs twice so far, yet to collect the top 3 check. Maybe the third time is the charm. Number 6, Powder River. Decent works, getting ready. And I think this is one based upon the pace setup that should get a trip that it wants. And then finally, number 4, Tap Dancing Lady has a plus late pace advantage, as we showed in the pace worksheet. 2 of the last 3 workouts were bullets. The horse has done okay at the distance 3 times out, yet to find the winner's circle, but a second and a couple of thirds. And I think that horse with that late pace, that 4-horse, and then they're putting those bullet work in, that tells me that the trainers probably want to get off to a little better start so they can better utilize that late pace. Race 3 in the 8-race card, 6 furlongs. This one's an allowance for $10,000. Fit purse of 52 grand so far, or not so far, but last year they ran 69 races at 6 furlongs, 45 of which the winners were in the first call at the quarter-mile marker. 45 of the 69 won by speed. 21 went wire to wire, so that's a pretty good one. Post positions so far were mostly fair. There's really not a big advantage to be anywhere when you leave the track. This one, in a minute, you'll see why this one's my best bet of the day. But if we look at, it'd be pretty obvious too. If we look at the pace worksheet here, the 1 should get be a part of the pace. The 8, all this group right here, all of them can be either on the lead or just sit right off the lead. So I think this is going to be a very tactical race, maybe what they call a jockey's race. The 11 is another that should get a trip that it's comfortable with in terms of early pace. Of course, these horses, they're all pressure closers, minus the 5, which is only one that's never really been a part of the early pace. So this race can get really hot if people decide to get out of their minds, because you do have a lot of horses that aren't afraid to go forward and a handful of which that like to close. So it is my best bet in here in race number 3. That is the 8 horse. 8 horse's name is One for Richie. Can there be any other pick for me today as the best bet? It's all in the name, Charles, but does have the top early pace and late pace combination in the field, and I think could be the pace setter at a distance where speed is important. And if the race does get hot, speed of the speed is a good way to go. Which way are you going to go?
Well, I definitely have to agree with you. The 8 is the speed of the speed. But I do believe there's enough speed in here, sort of kind of what you're lean on what you just finished saying about a jockey's race. They might soften each other up a little bit. So I'm going with the class dropper number 3, third time off a layoff. The hot trainer and jockey combo. They were so hot at Kentucky Downs, it was unbelievable.
In fuego, as they say.
Yeah, unbelievable. So I got it basically catching your 8 at the wire. So 8 is, of course, obvious, my second pick. And my third pick, it will be the 7 horse. Solid work tab again on a horse. When I say solid work tab, what I'm looking for is consistency between dates of when they work out. I really personally do not care about times at all. When I watch workouts, it's how they do the workout. If they do it with ease and they do it in 48, then that's fine. You know, some other horse could struggle and do a 47. I'll take the 48 with ease. And like I said, consistently, every 7, 8, sometimes 9 or 10 days, you'll see a pattern when they work out. So that one has a solid work tab, could sit off the pace, a closer, and Joe Talamo stays on this horse. You rode him back. So number 6 horse is my final pick. Another horse that's looking for the hat trick today. Horse has been in the money 29 times out of 44 races. So it has some heart, always tries to fight. But does move up in class today. But when you're winning races, you kind of have to start meeting better. You know, he did what he had to do with the other.
You run out of favorable conditions, right?
That's right. So you kind of have to move up a little bit. So I'm not going to fault him for that. He's going up the right level. So that's my final pick of the race.
I'm going to go, as I mentioned, One for Richie as my best bet of the day and my top pick in race number 3. Number 7, Thirsty Betrayal, is a winner of 2 straight, going for your and Terry's hat trick. Performed well at Churchill Downs, out 9 times. 3 wins and 3 seconds. Also a fan of the distance, 16 times, 6 wins, a second and 3/3. Only 3 wins in 16 races at any other length. So clearly a horse for the 6 furlong course. Number 6, Big Sport, is another fan of the distance, running 21 times, catching the winner's check in 11 of those. So a little more than 50%, a couple of seconds and thirds behind that. won its last race, and then trainer Brittany Vandenberg goes back-to-back W's at a sparkling 35%. And it's not like, 5 of 16 races. It's 43 of 124. So she's really good at spotting her horses when they're in form and good races that they have another chance to score. Number 2, All West, was a tough call for me over your top choice, the 3-horse, but did run better fractions in its last race. And it's 15-1, and the 3-horse is 3-1. But I wouldn't be afraid to use that 3-horse in any of my picks. But if I have 2 horses that are essentially a tie for me, I'm going to go with the one where I'm getting better odds. Number 4 is a 6-furlong race, the maiden claiming for $50,000. As we mentioned, at 6 furlongs, the post positions play fair. You probably want a fast horse a little bit closer to the front than probably in the middle. If we see what the Pace Workshop looks like for race number 4, this is a deep, deep, deep race. We do have a bunch of down arrows in here. A lot of these horses are actually dropping in class to run in this maiden race. That's what these down arrows are for. I've said it before, for me in these maiden races, when you're going from special weight to claiming, I think the drop is almost as important as how they ran the last time out. So you see a horse that maybe the numbers look pretty bad, but it's dropping from maiden 50 to maiden 25. Those numbers are probably going to look better. We do see with the 6-horse, it does have an early pace advantage at 2 furlongs and 4 furlongs. So likely to be the pace setter, the one that everybody has to catch. Got a ton of first timers in here, the 10, the 3, the 4. The 11-horse it didn't even factor in its races so far, but it does have a pretty strong late pace advantage. So this is one of those races. If Terry was here, he'd probably advocate the all button. But maybe we don't have that flexibility. You see it as a wide open race, Charles, because you have it, and I agree with you, as a box it up. So tell us why you put these 4 horses in an exacta, trifecta, and superfecta box today.
Well, I think you just nailed it at the end. Terry would hit the all button. Basically, I do like the speed of the 6, but after that, they all kind of like bunched together, and they all got great odds. So this is why it's my box of the day. So you could pick up a nice little paycheck there. So the 6-horse which is like you said, the speed of the speed. The trainer's 32% going from straight maiden to maiden claimer. Solid works again, but has been off since January. So, but the trainer does very well of getting them ready, as you well know. Cox is no pushover when it comes to that type of stuff. My second pick is the 8. Drops in class, very nice workout. And Lucas trains this horse. And my question to you, Rich, has Wayne Lucas found the fountain of youth all of a sudden? He's on all the time. He's got all these stakes horses again, and he's in the winner's circle a lot more than he was in the past 3 or 4 years.
Maybe they're just doing a better job of identifying good horses for him, right? Because I think it's kind of like riding a bike. If you're a good trainer and you know how to get a horse prepped, I don't see how that's going to change. It's just probably the quality of horses has gone up.
Yeah, it has to be something like that. It's all of a sudden, there he is again.
Well, maybe because nobody's allowed to use stuff anymore.
Well, they're not supposed to, right?
Uh-huh.
The number 7 is my third pick. Has some speed, been knocking on the door. 2 solid back-to-back races in the last 2 races. So another one that's right there. And then the 10, Todd is a 20% with first timers. Got Tyler Gaffalione, another hot jockey, has 3. And the Dam has 3 winners out of 5 starters. And one of them was a stakes winner. So another quality horse in that race. So that's why overall, like you said, if it's kind of that much wide open, you're going to get some prices in there. And when you're doing tries and supers and stuff like that, hey, why not?
Yeah, philosophically, I wholeheartedly agree with you on this race. I feel like it's the 6-horse and then everything else. So That being said, probably want to run away from the 6-horse because that things never really work out the way you expect them to do. But Insolito does have the top early pace and late pace numbers in this field, does have an advantage. So in a sprint where it matters, and you're going to have a blob of horses in a deep field, one of the things I like to have when you have a lot of horses in the race, I do want to have my horses more forwardly placed. I'm not a big fan of closers in deep fields because they're going to run, a lot of them run into traffic. A lot of them get blocked. I saw yesterday in a race with at Kentucky Downs where Jose Ortiz was sitting on the best horse, just had nowhere to go, got blocked, couldn't run, and then he ended up having to pull up because he just couldn't go anywhere. So I do like for horses to be forwardly placed in deep fields. The 6 will get that done. Is dropping from maiden special weight 84,000, but not all the way to the bottom. And as you mentioned, trainer Brad Cox wins a third of the time when taking horses from the maiden special weight down to maiden claiming. Constitutional Law is another maiden special weight dropper. Has not raced since March, that 2-horse there. But some really, really good workouts in its last 2, getting prepped for this spot. So hopefully that translates to the track today. Not like my golf game where I'm great on the range, baby, but get me on the course and the ball starts going all over the place. I don't know what in the hell changes from the range to the course. Maybe somebody can send me some tips on that to gtsrichb@gmail.com because it drives me absolutely bananas, Charles. A few broken.
I think it
corners.
happens to all of us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I mean, on the range, man, I'm telling you, I look like a tour player. Once I get on the course, I look like I never played before. And it's that huge standard deviation, that variance that just makes me batty anyway. Norgay is
it's the pressure of everybody being after, chasing behind you.
Yeah, I don't feel pressure. I never have.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just a strange thing. But Norgay nearly has a triple plus late pace edge. I think this one's likely to be its best in its third start off a layoff. And I think it will pass a lot of horses as they tire late. And then you mentioned a lot of reasons why one might want to add Lucky Smile to their picks. I agree with you on that. Taking up enough time on race number 4. So let's go ahead and finish up race number 5. Race number 5 is a significant race. Charles, you know why?
Oh, it's my long shot of the day.
That's one reason.
Yeah, okay. Tell me why.
But it's what I call with Terry the race of death because it connects the early pick 4 and the late pick 4. So you got to get this one right. Otherwise, it won't matter on the top and it won't matter on the bottom. So the race of death today is race 5. It is a 1-mile race for a maiden, of course, for 120,000 maiden special weight race in race number 5. Last year at a mile, finally got that part right. They ran 52 races, 39 of which were won by horses classified as early speed. A dozen went wire to wire. There is an inside 3 bias. 4 through 7 do perform slightly below par. 8 and out really struggled to find the big check. And if we look at our pace worksheet for race number 5, go back over here. This race is another one that is, I think, a couple horses that might have an opportunity to stand out here, being the 5 and the 7. This one horse, to me, the 1A, it's the one horse. It's also eligible. It and the 1A of the entries, that is, in my opinion, the better of the 2. Although the 1A does get a left arrow to it, as does the 8, meaning the 8 horse typically wants to be back and close, but it's early pace. It's natural running out of the gate without really having to put any extra juice into its effort. Should move it a little bit closer to the front. Got a bunch of first-time starters in here. And then the 7 horse catching some early pace, some late pace edge if the 4 horse, the 14 doesn't get in, which is also eligible. So whole lot of crazy stuff going on in this race in terms of race shape, who gets in, who doesn't get in, how that's going to impact the output. But Charles is not daunted by that whatsoever at all because he says the 1 horse is his long shot.
Yes, I do. And it's the 1, not the 1A. It's my long shot, to be honest with you.
Right. And we talked about that. I agree with you. Between the 2, the 1 looks clearly better than the 1A.
And why I chose it as my long shot of the day, which right now it's going off 8-1. We might see 6-1. If it gets scratched, then the 4 is my long shot of the day. I think that horse is just as good to, pick up a piece of the pie and go off at a really nice odds. So either way, on long shot of the day race for me. But I will go with the 1 as my first choice. Like we said, Cox is 30% with first timers going to routes, blinkers on, solid works after his last race. So if the 1A gets scratched though, we might not see a long shot price on this horse.
Mm.
Might be close to 3-1. So the 4 horse is my second pick. Last time out, got tired in the mud, but this gun runner Colt has probably figured it out now. He did okay in that race, and I figure that this horse will come back firing. The 7 horse, another Lucas horse. The Colt just missed last time out, so it fits well with these horses. Once again, I do believe the race 4, 5, and 6 are the most wide open races out of all of them myself. But so and my final pick of the race is the 5. It's a practical joke. Colt has hit the board 3 times out of 4 starts, and Tyler's back on this horse, so that gives that horse a little bit more edge. So
So
those are my 4 picks there.
So where you end is where I start. Summon Your Courage, the 5 horse in race number 5. I like when the race and the horse numbers line up for some reason. I don't know. It's just some weird thing where I've noticed a lot of times, like in that race, it's like if the 7th race, the 7 horse wins. Sometimes I don't know. Just maybe it's like that. I forget what it's called. That effect, like when you buy a new car, you've never seen it before, and then all of a sudden you can't miss it. Everybody owns it. Yeah. Anyway, Summon Your Courage did increase his speed figure in 3 races after its debut. So stepping up that performance ladder race after race after race. And I really like that last time out, the horse ran better fractions at 6.5 furlongs than it did at 6 furlongs in the previous start. Has done okay at Churchill Downs, 2 races, a second and a third. So really knocking on that door, the winner's circle door. Number 7, Trackmate has a plus late pace advantage, as I mentioned, if the 14 does not scratch in. Does also own the top last race speed figure in his last with a huge upgrade compared to the previous start. And that's because the horse moved to dirt off of turf. So looks to me like they found the right surface for Trackmate. Number 8, California Twirl is a left arrow horse, 3 workouts since its debut. The last 2 were very nice. And then finally, number 1, Wadsworth. I might put this one a little bit higher if I knew. I probably would have put it higher in my picks if I knew it was going to get in the race. It's going to go long for the first time, stretching out, which is a 30% winner for trainer Brad Cox, who wins typically at 24% overall. That's another thing that I like to look at when I'm doing my handicapping is what I call alpha angles. So if a trainer wins at 10% overall, and then there's an angle where he wins at like 15 or she wins at 15 or 16 or 17%, noticeably higher than the overall win rate. I call those alpha angles because I feel like that's a specialty for the trainer. And this one does have a couple of good workouts as well, including a bullet getting prepped for this spot. Race 6, as we move away from the race of death, hopefully we're still alive at that point, Charles. 7 furlong race, optional claiming for $100,000. The purse is $127,000. This is for 2-year-old fillies, which have not won 2 races. Translate that to English, meaning anything can happen in this race. That's always the case with 2-year-olds. 7 furlongs so far. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't write down the number of races, but 33 of which were won by speed. 13 went wire to wire. I can quickly take a look at the number of races there. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm doing my work, I forget. I don't know why I don't put things in at times, but in those 33 wins, that comes from 46 races. So you can see a very strong speed bias, and the post positions. There's a little bit of a penalty for the rail. 2 and 3 play fair. 4 and 7 get a little penalty. 8 and out, which is kind of unusual so far, is the best and gets a bonus in race number 6. Our pace worksheet for race 6. Look at this, Charles. This one really has not a strange race shape, but one where almost everybody wants to be on the lead. That means they're going to get out of the gates and probably put a lot of juice in there. So if you're going to pick a speed horse in this scenario, for me, you want the speed of the speed, because horses that are used to getting the lead and don't get it tend to fade. Has that been your experience as a trainer, Charles?
Oh, definitely, definitely. You always
Of
want
the
the fastest one, period, no matter what.
Right. So of those, all of these speed horses, the 3 and the 5 have very similar early pace based upon the way I calculate it. And someone might be sitting there with a big old smile on their face. That's the 12 horse, because if all of these go fast, it is a pressure horse, so sits right off the pace and then does have a plus late pace advantage. Really might set up nicely for that horse. Although I probably don't have him in my picks, which you do. So tell us about race number 6.
Okay, well, yeah, 100% agree that everybody wants the lead. So everybody's going to get softened up somehow. That's why I chose the 6 overall. I think he's the best closer. Class drop, back on dirt, cuts back in distance. So and Talamo's back on this horse too. So it's kind of a lot of pluses for this horse. A nice little setup up there for him to run at. Once again, you said you picked up the 12 as probably the pace horse that could jump on everybody. Well, that's my second pick. Ran hard first time out, which he did win, of course. He was well bet that day and has a solid work tab. So he's the only horse. Well, he's the horse that just now won and he's ready to go again. Yes, they all have won before, but they've also all learned how to lose too.
Mm-hmm.
So the 9 horse has some speed, could sit behind sit back there, and he's got a hot jockey, Tyler, of course, again, just coming off that nice meet at Kentucky Downs. So and then the 11 horse, another speed horse, class drop here, solid work tab. If he's ready, can really steal this race in this. So yeah, who's going to really take the real lead? Who's gonna pressure the leader is the true question, I guess. But that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think this race is again, 2-year-olds, you just have no sense of what's going to happen again. And since that's the case, it sets up nicely for a box it up, because it's wide open race. 2-year-olds, anything can happen. I think Shoplifter dropping from a non-graded stakes for $125,000 last time out. That race was better than it looks on paper, especially if you examine the early part of that race, the first half. Horse improved relative to the start before that. Number 11, free drop. Maddie, there's that golf reference again. I can use some free drops when I play golf. Anyway,
a lot of free drops for me.
This one's drop. I like the foot wedge too. But anyway, drops in class after winning a $150,000 non-graded stakes race at Lone Star. So maybe a little bit. It is a track downgrade from Churchill Downs, but the horse did debut at Churchill Downs, and that race was nearly as good as the $150,000 winning effort, and does have some good maintenance workouts between races. Number 5, T-Max won its debut with ease. I think like 5 3/4 lengths or something like that. So it didn't have to put in all of its work. In that race, did run the top last race speed figure. And that's the only way I really like to take maiden risers right off the bat, unless it's the first race and they win, or they ran the top last race speed figure, which T-Max did. And what I really like about that too is not only did he run the top last race speed figure, but he put in a bullet workout since. That tells me that this horse is on edge, ready to go, going to be sharp again. Finally, number 3, Holiday Decision, is another one of those non-graded stakes droppers. I think it ran against Shoplifter, one of those two, or free, Shoplifter last time out. Did break the maiden at Churchill Downs, where it's 2 races, 1 win, and a third. And this one also has some really nice Churchill Downs works. Again, going back to what Mike Smith told us about horses that train well at Churchill tend to run well at Churchill. So I'm expecting to see that there. Charles in race number 5 said he likes the 13 if it gets in. Solid effort at Ellis Park. Watch for the barn to be dominant at this meet. Race number 6, Charles likes different Charles, not this Charles, but the other Charles. E.F. Hutton Charles. Race 6 to 9 and 12 are scratched. Oh, so they put the scratches out already?
I guess they just did.
All right. Well, we'll have to make some adjustments for that, I guess. All of our picks will be on horseracingtoday.net. So for me, the horse that would fill in after the 3 on my box it up after that 9 horse would be the 2, Santa Fe Gold. So let's just do this right away since those horses are scratched out. I won't be able to change the image in that time frame, but my box it up will be now 11, 5, 3, and 2. Charles, any horse that you want to put behind that 12 horse there?
Well, I definitely have to agree with you. The 2 was right there on mine.
All right, so that's what Charles will do there. So this is
hopefully
that's the way it all plays out for us. All right, which is also going to mess up our pick 4s at the end, but we can adjust that on the fly as well. Yeah. That's the great thing about live YouTubing. You just don't know what's going to happen. All right, your best bet's coming up here, Charles, in race number 7, which is the second to last race on the card. But before we get to Charles' best bet for race number 7, you can head on over to the picks by the professor, their play of the day. There is a link in the description here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, everything. You see our socials scrolling down there below. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, follow us, retweet, thumbs up, all of that good stuff. Again, we're just a few people away from 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Please help us get there. We appreciate all of your support. But the picks with the professor, you're going to want to keep track because college football is coming up today. Doesn't have his picks up yet, so please make sure you click on that link down in the description so you can get them when the professor updates them. College football's back in swing. Pro football's back in swing today. A lot of stuff going on. Of course, Sean, myself, and Jared will have our football show tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. So you're going to want to check that out for the NFL, the picks with the professor, just so much. Emily, baseball, playoffs coming up. Great racing that Charles and I are going to get back to now for race number 7 at Churchill Downs. Race 7 is I think it's another 7 furlong race. Yes, optional claiming 100,000, non-winners of 3 lifetime. Again, I think they ran something like 45 races, 33 of which were won by speed. You want to have a horse that is probably closer to the front, as only 13 went wire to wire, but not necessarily on the lead. Looks like the post positions are mostly fair. A little bit of a penalty if you wear a 1, 4, 5, 6, or 7. 8 and out has been the best. This race, again, to me, Charles, is a very even race. So it kind of surprises me in an even race that you would have your best bet in there. But race number 7, all but the 3 and 5 in here have very similar late pace numbers. And interestingly, when you look at the race shape here for how horses have won in the past, the 5 and the 1 being a left arrow horse are likely the ones that are going to move to the front because they have better pace figures than this 3 horse, which might discourage it, although it's an EP, so it can win from off of the pace. The bulk of the horses in here want to be towards the back, which should set up for a horse that has a little bit of early pace. You have the 1 horse, that left arrow horse in here as your best bet. It was one I wanted to make my best bet too until you took it.
Oh, so, okay. I see how it is. Well, yeah, my best bet of the day, the 1. Solid work, Tab. The horse is always pretty consistent overall. Steve, probably one of the best trainers out there, period. Always gets him ready for any type of race. Unfortunately, you usually don't get a price with Steve, but Tyler.
But you know what? We talk about value. A lot of people talk about value, and I'm going to make value bets, right? To me, there's only value in one type of bet. And that's a winning bet, right?
That's right.
If you take a 50-1 and it don't win, there's no value in that bet. It's garbage. You take a 1-2 and it doesn't win, there's no value in the bet. It's just garbage.
Well, that's why, mainly I do love the win bet. And I'll place it, even if it is even money horse, like you said. Hey, and in a little over a minute, I could double my money. Who's going to complain?
Yeah, you have to
really.
put your money in the bank. Probably you would live and die before you doubled your money.
Yeah, before you double it, you put
Mhm.
it on a stock, you'd be thrilled to death. In 3 hours, you would double it. That would you'd be so thrilled.
Mhm.
So in 1 minute and change, yeah, I'll be happy with it. So that's, I mean, he always gets them ready. Tyler rides the horse. I personally believe he's the horse to beat. The four horse, Keith DeSormo has solid works in this one. The horse can close. Uh, it, he usually sends them out ready. A lot of people on the East Coast doesn't know much about Keith DeSormo because he's mainly a West Coast trainer, but he definitely gets them ready. Let me tell you.
Mhm.
Uh, and my third pick is the six. Uh, this is a weird stat that I found, and I couldn't believe it. 42% the trainer is when he puts a horse in an allowance race. Goes back to what you were saying earlier. The trainer could be a whatever percent, but if you find something that's much higher in a certain angle, you got to pay attention to it. So that's
Mhm.
what this trainer's angle is to put him in allowance race. It's a very high allowance, but it is an allowance race. But he does has a class drop from a stakes race. Workout tab looks nice. Is consistent, except for I mean his last three workouts was consistent. What I should say on
Mhm.
that. The number three is my final pick of the race. Hot jockey in the last 7 days. How could you always go against Wesley Ward? He's another 25% off the layoff. He's another solid trainer that gives you the best horse for your money sometimes. So there's the how I finally picked it all out. But yeah, I still believe the one is the one to beat.
I agree with you. I think the one is the one to beat. I always defer to the co-host, so I let you guys make your picks first, and then I make mine secondary in terms of the long shots, the best bets, and the box it up so that they're different. I was going to make the one horse my best bet as well. It is a left arrow horse, as I mentioned. Does have the top last race speed figure. Churchill Downs, I mean, the horses run really well there. The one thing I concern myself with it looks like a hanger a little bit to me. Ran 9 times at Churchill, one win, 4 seconds and a third. At the distance, 5 times out. Again, looks like a hanger, one win, 3 seconds and a third. So in the money 100% of the time at 7 furlongs. I just wonder if that horse is going to be on the lead looking around like, oh, who's going to beat me at the end and let somebody go by him right at the wire. I've seen that way too many times. Heart Rhythm is the second choice, number 6 for me. This guy's been off since early July. The last 2 workouts were really fast, so I think the horse is trending in the right direction for its return to the track. At Churchill Downs out 4 times, another one that looks like maybe it's looking around at the finish wire because Churchill 4 races, 3/3. So Gambler's Fallacy, it's due to turn one of those O's into a W. Number 7, Roboman, broke his maiden at Churchill Downs with the best Churchill Down numbers for any horse in this field. If it runs back to that race, he'll win again. And then finally, number 10, Major Fed. You might remember that horse's name. Ran in the Kentucky Derby against Authentic. So you can't ignore the back class required to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. Hasn't really run so well since, but the most recent workout hints that he might recapture some of that form. And if you, again, rewind cycles, I'm big on cycles, Charles. I don't know about you, but I like to see how horses run first off the break, second off the break, third off the break to kind of find where that horse finds its wind, so to speak. And if you look at Major Fed's work, past performance, it looks like to me, many times the best race in the cycle for him is the first one following some rest. So maybe Major Fed recaptures some of that glory and wins this one in here today. Last race of the day, the nightcap, quite literally at Churchill Downs, because it'll be dark by the time this race goes off, race number 8. Again, it's a 7-furlong race, 46 races, 33 of which were won by speed, 13, so a baker's dozen going wire to wire. So they used to give away a free donut. Is that why they call it a baker's dozen? Because I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I never
Maybe I
get a
think that's what it
13th
was.
one. Yeah, and man, donuts got expensive too. Like a year ago, they were 49 cents each. Now they're like $1. Crazy.
Everything's
Anyway,
crazy.
so we better win some of these races so I can go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a 13th donut, Charles.
There you go.
Not that I need a 13th donut. I'm trying to actually go the other way, but
Well, I'm trying to make sure I don't get a donut today in my picks.
you won't. You had some. You've done well, so I'm not worried about that at all. So race number 8, it looks to me like you're going to see the 8 horse be a part of the early pace. Both the 6 and the 10 are pressure horses, but the early pace figures say expect them to move a little bit forward, which means the 3 and the 5 that usually like to be on the lead, if they're behind the 8, the 6, and the 10, they might find themselves to be depressed, maybe back off a little bit. And the closers do own all the late pace figures. So this race shapes up the way it looks on paper. Hopefully it plays out that way when they hit the finish line so that we don't have a donut in race number 8, because that last race sometimes seems to be the hardest to close out, like pick fours and so forth.
Yeah, that was and it kind of looks like looking at your picks too. I had a hard time between choosing the 2 or the 7 as who is my first pick. And I ended up with the 7. Uh, he cuts back in distance, back on the dirt, ran well last time out. That was on turf, of course, and so going back to dirt might be a nice claim too in this race. And remember, I've told you back in the past that when I look at some of these races and their claimers, would I claim this horse if I had the money and stuff? Yes, I'd probably claim this horse, and I probably also would claim the 2. So the 2 is my second pick. Cuts back in distance. Comes from a small barn, but the barn is 22%. So hey, not bad for a small barn for the year. And this horse has tactical speed enough to be right there at the end to close up. So those are my top 2 picks, 7-2. My third pick is the 9. Just broke its maiden. Trainer is 23% from maiden to claimer. Definitely a closer. So it has a shot to pick up the piece of the pie. And then my final pick is the 11 horse. Has shown some tactical speed. Might hang on for a piece of this. Might just have enough to hang on there.
All right. So in the last leg, for me, I like number 2. I agree with you. Those 2, the 7, they look like the 2 for me as well. Ipsum gratis. I should talk to my daughter. She's a Latin whiz. She probably smacked me for mispronouncing those, but has some of the most late pace in this field, as dropping multiple classes. I also like the fact that the horse has the best Churchill Downs numbers. Again, Mike Smith angle. How they run at Churchill is how they run at Churchill. Psychologist, is that right? Yeah, psychologist. Yeah, psychologist, I guess. Anyway, number 7 does have a 7 furlong win at Churchill Downs in 2 tries, which is quirky distance, 7 furlongs. Not quite a route, a little bit more than a sprint. Did run a Z pattern last time out and does like a fast track. Well, kind of hangs there too. 6 times out on a fast track, a win in 3/3. So you know that it prefers that surface. Super talent of Houdini, the 8 horse, is dropping multiple classes. It's a 30% winning angle. Again, looking at that alpha angle for trainer Gennaro Garcia. And he's done it 53 times. So it's not like he did it 10 times and won 3 of them. He did it 53 times and won 16 of them. So again, the bigger the data set, the more reliable the number. Finally, number 9, forgot the password, which is pretty common for me. That's why I use the same one over and over and over again. But I try to figure out one that's not hackable.
I think we're all guilty of that.
Yes, indeed. But this one doesn't. I'm not a big fan of horses that are maiden claiming risers going up in class. But the 2 runs at Churchill Downs that this horse had so far were better, in my opinion, than anything that else is not in my picks has produced at Churchill Downs. So that's why the 9 horse makes my final choice there. Let's see. Rock and Ray. Lucky number 2. Yes, indeed. Rock and Ray. I got 2s across. You have 2 better have a good day today for me, because I got 2s across the board on the top of my
you have a lot of 2s, don't you?
Yeah, and I should have a lot of 1s considering I'm wearing the 1 shirt today. All right, so I forgot to do something today, which is not out of the ordinary for me, because I'm a little bit older and sometimes the brain doesn't work the way I want it to work. But our early pick 4 is in race number 1, starts in race number 5, the hot dog pick 4. As Charles mentioned in race number, I think it is race number 6, the 9 horse is out. So instead of the 9 for me, I'm going to have the 11, the 5, and the 3. And for Charles, the 12 horse is out. So he's going to replace that with the 11. The 13 in Charles' ticket, I don't think is in yet. It's an also eligible. So if it does get in, he's going to include it. If he doesn't get in, then his ticket's going to cost a few less bucks. Outside of that, I don't think there are any changes. And we came out of the box with our prime rib pick 4s. Again, in race number, oh man, I have the wrong races in mind. Doesn't that works out really well, doesn't it, Charles? I have race 3, 4. I don't know what that is. So for me, so I'm going to go, let me go back to this here then. All right. So for me in race number 2, I'm going to go. All right, Richard, come on. Race number 2 for my prime rib. I'm going to go 2, 1, 6, 4, 8, 6, and 7, 6, 2, 11, and 10, and then 5, 7, 8, and 1. So I'm going to go 4 by 3 by 4 by 3. I mean by 4. 4 by 3 by 4 by 4 in races 2, 3, 4, and 5. I really don't know how I messed that one up, folks. So forgive me, please. So again, race 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 6, 4, 8, 7, 6, 6, 2, 11, 10, 5, 7, 8, and 1. Our box it ups look like this. Of course, for me, race number 6 was my box it up where the 9, the 9, I think Charles said scratch. So I'm going to go 11, 5, 3, and 2. I think your box it up is just fine. 6, 8, 7, and 10. Here are our full picks for the day. My best bet is in race number 3. Your best bet is in race number 7. Your long shot is in race number 5. My long shot's race number 1 to start the day. I think that wraps up everything in terms of picks. Later on tonight, myself, Sean, Terry, and Tom will be back for Thursday's night's edition or this week's edition of the Player's Edge. We're going to be covering 3 Breeders' Cup win and you're in races over at Woodbine with announcer Robert Geller. Again, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss that. Woodbine's always been a tricky course for me. How about you, Charles?
Oh yeah, that's one track that I always have a very hard time with.
Yeah, I usually
It's probably because of the synthetic, but
yeah, it could well be. You know, those even racing surfaces you can't kind of iron out, or you can't cheat with some of the biases. The game cheat, as the gamers say, right? But that's going to be on tonight at 9:30. So if you're interested in those 3 really big races this weekend at Woodbine, get some great insights from somebody who watches and calls every single race there. And while we're doing that, if you're going to put a little bit of money maybe on Penn National while you're playing in Churchill Downs, it is the free track of the day over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet. There is a link in the description here on Facebook, as well as Twitter and Instagram, however it is that you keep up with us. While you're there, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We're just, I think, about 10 people away from the milestone of 2,000. Again, couldn't do any of it without the support of the folks who are in this community. We thank you for all of your support. Tell your friends about us. Retweet us, do all that social media stuff that us old guys aren't interested in. That's why Sean does it all. All right, Charles, that wraps up today's show. Any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
Oh, no, that's about it. All weekend I'll be at the Keeneland sale, so that's where
hopefully
I'll be
you buy a fast one.
Be buying some fast horses.
Yes, indeed. So tomorrow, Thomas and I will be back at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock noon Central for our Foreign Fridays. We'll be going down under to Caulfield, where they have a lot of group big races. Make sure you check that out. Those races are insomnia races for Friday night to Saturday morning. So if you're up late betting the horses tomorrow night, want some insights on some of those big Australian races, make sure you tune in for Tom and I. And then on Saturday morning, our Eddie C and Chris B for their spot plays will return to Belmont at the Big A, where it's really just Aqueduct.
It's just Aqueduct.
All right, folks. Well, that wraps it up for today. We hope that no matter what you do, you make the most of your day. Be good to yourself, because if you're not, nobody else will. Charles, whether you're betting at Penn National, Woodbine on the weekend, wherever it is that you're doing football, college football, NFL, baseball, so many things to be a degenerate about today. We hope that no matter what you do, it ends up in one place, and that is the
Winner's Circle.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic Thursday. We'll see you tonight.